No thing makes you happy. No thing makes you happy. It's such a great title. No thing makes you happy. So you could say, not a thing makes you happy. Or you could say the opposite. Everything makes you happy. So not a thing makes you happy, or everything makes you happy. Isn't that great news? Isn't this the best news? Everything makes you happy. So the air makes you happy. The light makes you happy. The sound of my voice makes you happy. The sound of the wind outside makes you happy. The bum on seat makes you happy. So nothing makes you happy, and everything makes you happy. So what is it meant by nothing makes you happy? So it kind of means two things. It means like knowing who you are or being rooted in self is happiness. And then it also means that not one thing in life will make you happy. So not achievement, not your feelings, not your emotions, not what you get, what you don't get, your money, your relationships, how alone or not alone you are. Like nothing you actively do to try to achieve something will make you happy. Nothing will make you happy. Nothing will give you what you're looking for. And what is it that every human being is looking for? And that is love. What every human being is looking for is love. Is contentment with right now, is the end of seeking. The end of seeking love. And what do I mean by love? I mean unconditioned love, home. This sense of being at home. This sense of being in the right place at the right time. That there's nothing missing. You could say that love is the essence of all things. It is everything. But when the seeking occurs and the identification with that person that's seeking happens, there is a covering of the love in which you are. There's a covering of this home. And in its absence, you then seek for it. So once losing it because you think it's in a thing, you think it's in time, you then seek to achieve that in objects. And it's like a cat trying to chase its tail and never makes it. Or maybe a cat does sometimes catch its tail. Maybe like the cat trying to capture light. It's an impossibility. All your efforts will never make you arrive. You'll end up a very stressed human being trying to do all these things to make you happy. So, who is it that you are? What is this love? This love is a combination of two things, which are actually one thing because there is no two things or no division. But because we're using language and this is kind of like a teaching method without being a teaching method, you have to give all these disclaimers when you're teaching non-duality. You is this sense of I am, like I am, boop boop, I am, that sense of being alive that's always been there. So when you wake up in the morning, there's always a sense of being, no matter what. There's always this sense of I am. Not I am Lisa, or I am good, or I am bad, or I'm rich, or I'm happy, or I'm sad. This sense of being. There's always that. And then there's also this empty looking that's so empty, has no position. You can't find it. It's not subject from that, it's not separate from that which it looks at. Initially, people say it's behind the person, like looking at the person. But as you really explore that, you see that the empty looking is everywhere and all things. Initially, when it's being taught, there will be the teaching that the consciousness is looking at the I am. But again, when you really explore that, you find that the being and the empty looking, the I am and the empty looking are one and the same thing. The I am, you could say, is everything, and you could say the empty looking is the nothing, but they're two sides of the same coin. It's so beautiful. It is love. And this empty looking is what you are, but it's a mystery. You can't ever find this empty looking in the I am. You can't ever place it and say it's in my heart or behind my eyes. But it's what you are, it's there, it's inherent in every experience, even in deep sleep. It's just in deep sleep there's no objects in order to see the world. So you could say it's consciousness at rest. So it's there in every experience inherently. There isn't any experience in which the empty looking isn't. It's always there. It's always here. Look into your experience and see if there is a time where there wasn't consciousness. How would that be? Most people think of consciousness as the personal consciousness, so they think of this person that's trying to put their attention into this moment and then losing it. But that's actually personal awareness. There's something that watches that personal awareness. There's something that knows that. So the one that's focusing or not focusing, or being present or not being present, something knows that. That's beautiful. And this is all you've ever looked for. The person, when there's identification with that and the belief that you are a person that's separate, the person is looking for happiness in its feelings. It's looking for good feelings, pleasurable experiences, objects that it likes, believing that is happiness. Whereas happiness is actually what you are. No one can take that from you. It's like the constant lover. The constant lover. The constant mother, you could say. It's the constant mother. Constant lover, constant mother. Isn't it funny? Those words are very similar. Lover, mother. If you're... I was going to make a joke about German speaking English, but then I realised that's rude. Now that I'm English trying to learn other languages, I realise how hard it is. But it was just for fun. Didn't mean to be rude. I'm sure the Germans, after me just saying the th and the v, know what I mean. Yeah. So the mind gets into this conditioned pattern, and then it becomes like an energetic feeling in the body, like the emotions follow that you need all these things to be happy. Because we also live in a consumerist society, or most of us that are listening do. I assume if you don't live in a consumerist society, then maybe you're not allowed to watch this in your country. If you're in a communist country, maybe communist is slightly consumerist as well. But the TV, the media is always telling you of all these things that you need. You need this, you need that. All these things that you need to do. And it is not true. Those things are pleasure versus pain, but they're not your happiness, they're not your freedom. Your freedom is what you are, always. So the mind right now might be scrambling for all these things that it thinks it needs to get or it needs to be. And there's something that's watching that is absolutely at peace with that. Whether you've got like really high intelligence that can think about 3 things at once, or whether your thought patterns are very slow, whether they're at peace or whether they're suffering, there is something that is watching that. And that watching is inherently free. That watching isn't personal. It's not a personal I. The I appears in the dream, which is something that's always in constant flux. When I say the I mean the illusory I. The person that appears and disappears. This moment you're a happy person, joyful person, then the next a sad person, then a rich person, then a poor person. Your I is always in movement, just like everything else that appears in this world. Everything that appears in this world is always in flux, which is a reflection again that this is a world of oneness. Because everything is constantly transforming into something else. Isn't that miraculous? But it's like a circle. So everything is transforming into something else, but it's circular. It can't go outside of this. It can expand. Okay, maybe it's like more spiral. It can expand, but only in the creation. It can't get out of the creation. So it can expand and get bigger, like the circle can get bigger, like a spiral. But you can't lose things from this. You can't, like Lisa can't just suddenly go, okay, I'm going outside the world of form to another place. That's what we imagine happens with death, but that isn't what happens with death. What happens with death is a movement back to what we are, which is the looking, which is what's always happening, but there is this illusion that it's the person looking. So in death, there will be this big expansion back into empty looking, which is love. But that's what's always happening. It's always consciousness recognizing consciousness in everything. It's always consciousness being itself. Oh, God, it's so juicy. I love this subject. It's oosey doosey. You'll want a Khaleesi cute attack. Or is that what I want? Hello, EE. You're so beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Is there any more to be said? Yeah, there feels like there's more to be said. So right now the question is, who is looking at me? Who is looking at me? Who is looking? So the mind reports back that you are David and you're 56 years old and you live in Tunbridge, Wales, and you have a dog called Holly and you're single. But that's not who's looking. That's not who's looking. Who's looking is this. It's the stillness of what is. It's that which never moves. That is the play. That you is a waking dream. It's not real. It's not a separate entity. That you, which you believe yourself to be, is coming and going. It's coming and going. It's not who you are. It is not who you are. And this looking is everywhere. It's so still and expansive. It's not looking through your eyes. It appears like it's looking through your eyes, but it's actually in all things. Inherently in all things. Instantaneously. It's quicker than that. It's quicker than these words. It's instant. And that's always been the experience. The lie has been, I am alive. I am this person. I've got to do all these things. That is the lie. What is instantaneous? What is instantaneous? Just gets so confusing because the language, when we communicate, is always indicating a person that goes into time, which is based on action. So in thoughts, we're always that character. But what is beyond thought? What is beyond thinking? it's undescribable. So the mind is like, a, what are those things called? Have I ever told this story? I most probably have. I was in India many moons ago, and this hotel I was staying at was like the comedy of errors, which is often sometimes the case in India. And so I was staying in this hotel, and they started to, right next to my room, like dig up the foundations for another hotel next to it, or another building next to it. And so one day I decided to go back for a sleep, and then they started like right outside my room, and it was like really intense. And so eventually I concluded that I can't sleep through this. And I opened up my door, and because I fed all the dogs, they were all just fast asleep, snoring outside of my door. And they're almost like shaking on the floor because the man's like, all the dogs are still like. So after that day, I was like, if the dogs can sleep through it, I can sleep through it. For this hotel also, another time when I was coming back to the hotel, I'd been out all day, and when I came back at like 8 o'clock at night, and I didn't like being out at 8 o'clock at night around the area because it was dark, and yeah, it's not so good for a woman to be out at that time. And it was dark, and I drove back the usual route, and there was no door. The door no longer existed. There were just bricks in where the door was. It wasn't even like there was still a frame. It was just like a smooth door, wall. There was no longer any door to go inside. So then I was like, oh, okay, they bricked up the door, but they didn't tell anyone. So then I like drove all along the building looking for the door in the pitch black, and it took me like about an hour, I think, to work out that I had to go back up to the main road, all the way to the main road, down another road to enter the new door. Like they didn't even put a sign out to say we've moved the door to the other side of the building. If anyone's been to Tiruvannamalai, it was called the greenhouse where I stayed. This was a long time ago. And like that stay, there was just so many like things that happened. And I think Muji was going to Tiruvannamalai then, so it was so blocked out, all the booking, like you couldn't change your booking. Like I wouldn't normally stay there, but it was just there was people everywhere. Yeah, it's very funny. There is no door. Like imagine just coming home tonight, wherever you live, and then there's just no door. The door is gone. It's like, did I actually wake up this morning, or I still in my dream at night? Yeah. Okay, let's go on to questions and answers.